The following is a production of the Dallas Genealogical Society. For more information, please visit our website at dallasgenealogy.com.
Okay. Oh, they're changing the way they're doing things. Okay, that's okay. This is the RootsMagic Special Interest Group for the Dallas Genealogical Society in June. And today we're actually going to talk about using Charting Companion to generate charts and reports using the RootsMagic database. And you can see from my desktop, I have Charting Companion 8 as a shortcut on here. I'm going to double click on it. And it says if I'm using Family Tree Maker, I can do it from Family Tree Maker. I don't have to do it this way. But I'm not using Family Tree Maker. I'm using RootsMagic. So it's going to open. And it's telling me which one I've already attached it to. And that's what I want to use. However, if you don't have anything at all for your first time in RootsMagic, you're going to go to File, Open, Navigate, do Browse, and navigate to wherever it is your file is kept. And click on it, and it will open just like it would in your regular database, only it's over here in this one. It happened to be on my mom, but you can go to any other person in the database pretty easily. You click on this little folder and their whole index of name comes up. And I actually want to do her great grandfather, let's see, this would be her grandfather. Oops. Go. And I'm going to go to him. And it comes up looking kind of like a family group sheet. This little icon on the far right is where you can actually access all the different reports pretty easy and see kind of sort of what they look like. So you have your typical family group sheet. Now I'm going to hit preview. It's going to open for me for some reason in my Adobe Acrobat Pro because I have it. But this is what that typical family group sheet looks like. All right, it was a big family. And to do the same thing again, only click on Publish. It's going to send me over to a place to save it, and it will save it as a PDF. The next one, Standard Family Group Sheet, looks a little different than that other one. Again, it's going to be open for me in Adobe, but see how different it looks? I actually like this one better because all those lines make my eyeballs hurt. It's just a personal preference thing. So you have those options. And on the hourglass one, this gets a little crazy. Hourglass means that you have ancestors on one side and descendants on the other. And you can tell it how many generations of each you want. I would try to make those numbers equal if you have them, or find, because it makes it more even. You can tell it to print place names, and include photos if you want to. Now, if you click on Expert, it's going to take you to this whole group of options that you can do. On the background, you can add an image if you want to add an image. You can tell it what content you want in there.
Cousin Smart?
Cousin Smart means that if you have first cousins that married first cousins, it will only print them once and refer to the other place. So I know that Ruth, your trees might get really convoluted
Yep.
on that. It depends on where you are in your generations. You can pick the layout, which is your margins, landscape, portrait, and the width and letters, what size and everything. Now, I have a drafting printer, so I actually do custom sizes and tell it what size I want. I'm not going to do it on this one, but on some of them, I do tell it what I want so that it will generate it correctly and save it correctly as one big print and not little pieces of paper. But I'm going to preview this. It's going to open in my Adobe in a minute. And I didn't change the colors. I needed to show you all that, but this is what it looks like. One of the things you need to pay attention, if you do letter, it's going to tell you how many pages wide it is and how many high. And it's got the total size down here. So this is huge. You don't want to do that probably, because that's rather large. Anyway, but you can save them. Well, that exited the whole thing. It didn't, I shouldn't have done that. You can save it and look at it and use it as a guide. All right, why isn't it working? Okay. Let me go back to the other way you can navigate it. Like this is her dad and this is where I was with him because I know where he was. The other thing to look at on these expert, I didn't mean to do that. Cancel. Okay. Load options. That's if you already had something, and I can't remember where I stuck those yesterday. You can do a wizard. There's expert. Anyway, you can change the box style with the shadow. You can, if you do the rounded corners, you can tell it the arc. If you have a Family Tree Maker color, you have some options there. Box width, minimum and maximum. You probably want to do that, but you don't want to limit it and say that make them all the same size, because then word wrap gets really weird, or it just cuts it off. But you do want to limit your photo height. I want to take that out and take that out. But then you also can change your colors. This is where you can tell it what color you want, what generation for this particular tree. And every single chart has these advantages. And this new version, which is really nice, they actually fix the color of the print of the text to accommodate going with the color of the background. They didn't used to do that, and you had to manually do that. It was a pain. But they actually fix it on this one. But they have all these different color combinations that you can use that are already set up. Or you can do the same thing by you can do them by generation on some of the, whatever report you're looking at. I keep going back to that one. I think that one, I don't think it's that one. I think it's that very one that I used to really like the way it printed. This one prints on the big charts really well. That group does. So you have these options. And you can play around with these and see what it looks like. Ooh, that's a new one. I've never seen that. Red, yellow, and green. They don't have purple. How funny. Anyway, all right. So we're going to preview this one now in these colors. And see how different it looks? Now the reason this is so long is there's so many generations with 4, and you got to get way down here to get to the ancestors, because I don't have that many ancestors. And to go back to your chart, you just can click on that little icon again and go to your whatever you want to go to next. The one I like to utilize the best is the ancestor file, but I need to change my person. The little people will take you back to your people list. I'm going to do an ancestor fan for him. I'm going to do 5 generations should do it. Here's the layout. Half circle is usually what I do because making a circle one takes a lot more paper than you really think it would, but anyway, I'm going to make this, the width is going to be 84. My height is 42 and my radius is 40. That's because my maximum paper is 42 that I can put on my plotter. See, I selected plotter. I'm going to click on preview. And of course, this is huge, but it comes out that the original chart, before I'm going to shrink it so you can see it all, is 40 by 80. This size of chart is really awesome for family reunions. Let me get this where you can see it better.
Teresa, what do? Take that then to some copy shop and have them print that?
Yeah. I'm going to have to see if it saves correctly. I haven't tried that yet because I usually see directly from this when I do my charts. Because I have the computer the printer to do that. So let me redo this again and just do it's going to let me preview first. Okay, let's see. Now it lets me publish. It's going to save in a PDF, which is what you want it to, well, you can save it as anything. I don't know what the places that, we'll save it as a PDF first. What the printing places format wise would need. Let me, oh, there it goes. See, that's a weirdo format. I don't know how to format PDF to make it show the paper size. See, 42 by 8, and it's going to take 10 pages, but that's somehow it's not reading the 80 inches or 84. So that didn't save right. So let's go back to this and see if we can save it as a JPEG and it will do it right. Because I don't think they care where you go take it to be printed, what format it's in,
Okay.
unless it gets to be too big. Let me see if it generated in my other monitor. And I am guessing that you can tell it to print on a big piece of paper. Or whatever size you want it to be, because you know, it's just that the print won't be as big. So like, where is the print button on this? Print. It would actually print on a little bitty 8.5 by 11, but you probably couldn't read it. And now why don't, well, I have a, well, we'll put it in a 24 by 36. That you could probably read 24 by 36. It's not as big as the one I had. So you can play around with it, but a JPEG you can do it with. So they probably can do it if they have this programmed right with a JPEG. The only problem is I don't know how big this image is. Because a lot of times you can send it to them over the internet. That's 2.5 megabytes that would go over the internet. So you can email it to them. The PDF, is not even a megabyte. But you know, they may know how to do a PDF and make it print the right size. That's something that you, when, you know, if you want to get it printed, you ask them what they want and generate it in whatever format they want. Because they do all sorts of stuff for people. I mean, I know that they can do image media because some of those big plotters, they do wallpaper on, you know, and those are images. Okay, that's that one. And this is, oh, I wanted to say, one of the reasons I use this one, well, I ought to go back and do this picture because it's easier to show. You can really see where you don't have ancestors on this. This particular one is pretty full until I get to a certain point back. If I had done more generations, oh, this is a descendants. This is descendants. So there probably, well, there are more. But if you do the ancestor one, let me go back into the ancestor one. Oops, wrong thing. All right, ancestor chin. Come on. Okay. Okay, now go back and hit print to do the publish. I'm going to do it as a JPEG. Oops. But see, you have all the different, except for TIFF, and I think TIFF would just be too big. But bitmap would be big too. This, you can really see where your holes are. This is a brick wall. This has been a brick wall. And this is a really, I don't know for sure I don't think he's her dad, because the story is that she went over the Trail of Tears and was orphaned, and this man adopted her or took her and her siblings because her parents died. And I have not been able to find truth to that, but I can't find documentation on when he died. But I might can now. It's been a number of years, but this really helps you visualize where your holes are. And you can add generations if if all this was filled out for you, or you already have it all. And on some trees I do. It lets you know where your holes are really fast in a visual way. Because in most of the software programs, the most you can get in the tree format on them is 4 generations. Well, this is 5. And I know that on my 42 by 84, I can get like 7 or 8 generations and it's still print okay. So I can have much, much more information in that space to see where my holes are. So just take that into consideration. But it's also, like I said, if you're going to do family reunions, it's a really cool thing to have some of these charts. They have a kinship report that, well, we better not do that. It might break. I don't ever print numbers. It takes a long time if the database is very big, and this one's kind of big. Big is over 10,000 names.
Big.
Well, I have to preference it because this one's like 20,000. I mean, I have one that I'm working on that I just merged a tree to. Is almost 50,000 names now. But I've merged 3 different family trees that I've worked on in it. So it's really large.
That numbers is the number of the generation?
No, that Wren is just an arbitrary number that's assigned to it. Like normally the person that the tree was built from is number 1, their parents 2 and 3, et cetera, et cetera. Except somewhere along the line, those seem to have really gotten screwed up in a lot of the databases. So I don't use numbers anymore, because if you merge, like I work a tree on a new ancestor in a separate tree until I figure out how it's attached and if it's really my ancestor. And then I merge it with mine. Well, all the numbers are screwed up if I were to number them. And this thing is not going to generate. So I guess you have to be careful what you do. Let me make it smaller. Well, it's going to really not be happy. Close program, yes. I'm not going to try that one again. I think RootsMagic has their own kinship report that you can utilize. I would not do this trellis chart. It is the most confusing thing I've ever seen, but I will generate one just so you can see it. Oh, and if you've got your name in it, it will print your name on the bottom of it. All right, this is moving. This is a better option here. I have not put any DNA in any of my trees, even though I have done a lot of I do have DNA on a lot of people in my tree. They do have a DNA tree through Charting Companion that you can enter. I mean, that you can generate. I'm going to have to study up on that one. If you buy Charting Companion, they have a lot of helps. What I'm telling you about this while we're killing time, and that you can download and print off. I downloaded one for wall chart printing tips. So that might help you also with getting stuff to a printer. And it talks about some of the stuff I just went over. But they have all sorts of stuff for this software on the different reports. So you can go out. They have a great learning center. And I actually had a problem with one. I don't remember what. It was several versions ago. And there was a bug, and I contacted them and they told me how to fix it. And so they're real good about responding if you really get stuck on generating a report or it doesn't do something right. Now, I need to tell you, in some softwares, I don't know if they do that in this one, they limit the size or the number of generations you can do, or just the general size of the chart. So like if you're generating a chart that's more than, I think 150 to 200 inches, it won't print. I had a chart that measured like 21 by 390, and it would never print. I mean, I could save it as a PDF, it wouldn't print, or it would cut it off. And it's because they had limited the number, the size that you could make a PDF out of. And if you're going to PDF it to send to a printer, that doesn't help you any. All right. Well, come on, move. This is what that trellis chart looks like. Well, I want to move up so you can see the top of it. Well, I'm going to have to make it small enough to see. There we go. Well, it's jumping around. Anyway. This is how it works, but see, it's huge. 219 inches by 688 inches. You couldn't print that unless you're going to make wallpaper out of it. And even
Can you
then,
break it into maybe 3 sections and print each section
well, this
and
particular
then
chart,
paste them together? Then
well, yeah, but see, I don't even know why you would want to use this chart. It's very confusing to me. That's what I'm saying. Some of these don't make any sense.
Yeah.
The basic pedigree, ancestor, the bow tie chart is similar to the hourglass chart. Now the ancestor book is another version of the ancestor book that RootsMagic has. And it does, you do have some options, not near as many as what you have in RootsMagic. that you save it as a rich text format, and it has index coding included, just like RootsMagic does. The outline descendant report is one that I actually utilize quite a bit when I first got started, and even now. If I get somebody else's tree, I don't ever merge it with my own. I usually go in and print an outline descendant report. So I have the names, dates, and places, and I manually enter everything and source it as I go, because I have found a lot of boo-boos that way. And then I don't mess up my database. Same thing with the descendant report. Now, these are the DNA ones. They have a descendant chart and DNA matrix. There again, you have cousin smarts.
Oh, and let me ask you about that. That is not just first cousins. I mean, it could be like
It's cousins anywhere.
cousins anyway, yeah. Or any way they're more than
If you
related more than one way.
if you have any overlap in wherever the overlap is, like in the parent or how far back, it will only print that couple once and tell you where the others are. I'm trying to think if I have an example that might work. See, I don't in my trees. I don't have any first cousins that married first cousins in my tree. I'm trying to think of a small tree that's the other thing that will do it. I have one. I will change it in a minute, but let's look at this DNA one. I don't think it's going to show me much because I don't have any DNA in there, but I don't know what the hatch marks mean.
I wonder what they print of a DNA. What do they?
I don't know. I mean,
you
I
can't
guess
print the whole DNA thing on those, but
I hate putting DNA in one of these files. You know, to see what it looks like. Oh, it's the same thing, but I don't know. I guess I'm going to have to play with that and see what it will do, because a lot of people are really doing that with DNA, but I'm extremely cautious about putting that kind of information online. I mean, it's available to a lot of people anyway, but if you've got your tree linked on Ancestry or anywhere, I don't know that you really want that data hiding in there. I mean, I guess if I did DNA through Ancestry, some of that would automatically come in here, but I actually don't think so, because it's really hard to get your data out of Ancestry's DNA thing. You have to really search for downloading it. You can't see it on their website like you can on Family Tree DNA's stuff, like what chromosome stuff is on. So you need to be aware of that stuff. But on the outline descendant report, and the reason I like this one is because usually when I'm doing data entry, I'm going to want to enter like all of this line at one time. You know, by generation, it groups them so that you don't get lost. And then of course, here's my family group, and then my uncle, one of my uncles, and my aunts. It's just easier to do data entry from this. Now, these people are all, of course, living, but, well, some of them have died, but I don't even know if I put that in the database. No, I haven't. Anyway, this is a really nice one to utilize for that purpose. And I don't ever print it really. I save it as a PDF. It's easier to work from unless I get really hosed down. I use 2 monitors, so I can put one up on a screen, one screen, and have my database in another. And I'll do so many and do all the sourcing. It just makes it easier to do with this kind of report. The other descendant reports are not as easy to do that with because they look at a generation as a whole. So you have a lot of duplication of that generation. And I get lost. You can get lost in doing that really easy. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, well, this is going to do it. Oh, I hit publish. This is going to open in Word because it's rich text format. And somewhere in here, there is a setting that tells them to open it in, and it's, where's it going? Shoot. Oh, it's still thinking. It tells it where it's opening. The default is not Word, it's Notepad or WordPad. But there's a place to change it to do Word or whatever publishing thing you use. And you want something that will generate a index for you. So it's still thinking. It should not take this long. This is not that big. There it goes. It opened in WordPad. So I'm going to close this and open this in Word. Oops. There it is, open with. There it is. And let's see. Well, good grief. Because in Word, you can change your font and fix all this stuff. I like it because some of this because it actually gives you an example of how the numbering works that you can keep with in your book and explains how stuff works, which I don't see that in a lot of books. You don't have a whole lot of choice in what names you put on stuff. And see, there's some duplication, but you can edit this because one of the things that's in here, if you click on this little thing, paragraph icon, it gives you your coding, and this little stuff right here is your index coding. As long as you have that in your document, you can do edits and then regenerate your index. If that's not there, you can't change the index. In this case, it doesn't even generate an index. You have to do it once it opens. Oh no, it did generate it. But if I changed anything, I can right mouse click on this. Well, somewhere up here and tell it to regenerate the index. So be aware that if you don't have that coding, it makes it hard to deal with. But yeah, I didn't get to, I don't think in this option, under Wizard. I don't think I could find a font. And I don't like Times Roman. I never have. It's hard to read, in my opinion. Arial is much easier to read. But here again, is Cousin smart? And usually it will just say, see page such and so for the descendants of this couple, or the other people of that couple. So, and you can tell it to include that example or not. I think that's a neat idea, but I don't like the fact that I cannot choose my options. My font, yeah, you can't choose your font. But once you set up stuff, you can save it. And yeah, save those options and reuse them. Okay, let's see if there's any other ones I wanted to show you. No, typical pedigree and ancestor charts, but ancestry, well, RootsMagic does the pedigree chart really pretty well. And it does reports better than this. So I would use RootsMagic reports for sure. But like if you want to do the chart, the fan charts, this is the software to use because you can tweak it so much in what you want to do or not do. And Matt, if somebody sends you a GEDCOM or another file format that you can't really read, you can open it in this and be able to see everything because it will accept different file formats. Go out to I think I sent the URL that this software talks to. So you can go out and see all the different software packages that can talk to it in their formats. Not just GEDCOM, but I think Legacy will talk to it. A lot of the British ones, a lot of the old ones that don't even exist anymore. So be aware that, this will read things that you might not be able to read in any other way.
This has been a production of the Dallas Genealogical Society. If you're already a member, thank you. If you're not a member, please consider joining now by going to dallasgenealogy.com and clicking on the membership tab. Your membership dues will help us support the genealogy section of the Dallas Public Library, and it will allow us to continue our education and preservation efforts.